Gilgo Beach, with its picturesque views of the Atlantic Ocean, might appear as a tranquil escape to the casual observer. The soft sounds of waves crashing against the sandy shores, the seagulls circling overhead, and the occasional laughter of children building sandcastles paint a serene picture. But beneath this idyllic veneer lies a darker narrative, one that has transformed this part of Long Island into a focal point of a horrifying mystery. This area, marked by its natural beauty, has become synonymous with fear and tragedy due to its association with the Long Island serial killer. For years, the peaceful ambience of Gilgo Beach has been overshadowed by the grim reality of unresolved crimes. Since 1996, the beach has been a grim repository for the secrets of a predator, or possibly multiple predators, who have used this secluded area to conceal their heinous acts. The contrast between the area's outward beauty and its sinister underbelly adds a chilling layer to the unfolding drama, making it a case that captures the attention of both locals and the broader public. The significance of Gilgo Beach's geography cannot be overstated in understanding the complexity of the case. Its isolation makes it an ideal spot not just for peaceful solitude but also, tragically, for concealing crimes. The sparse population and limited surveillance along this part of the coast have posed significant challenges to law enforcement, complicating efforts to monitor the area effectively and secure it against further atrocities. This geographical challenge is a critical piece of the puzzle in unmasking the shadowy figure behind these crimes. The name Gilgo Beach now evokes a dual image, one of natural beauty, and another of a haunting ground where the shadows of unresolved mysteries linger. As we delve deeper into the story of the Long Island serial killer, the role of this location as both a silent witness and an unwitting accomplice to the crimes becomes increasingly apparent. It is this eerie dichotomy that sets the stage for a tale marked by horror and relentless mystery. It was in December 2010 when the tranquility of Gilgo Beach was shattered forever. A routine search for a missing woman, Shannon Gilbert, led police to stumble upon something far more sinister: the scattered remains of multiple individuals buried in the shallow sands along the coastline. This grim find was not just a shocking revelation, it was the beginning of a horrifying saga that would grip the community and the nation. The discovery of these remains opened the floodgates to a series of investigations that would unearth more questions than answers. As law enforcement delved deeper, they unearthed the remains of several other women, most of whom shared similar profiles: young, often working as sex workers, and tragically each leading lives marked by vulnerability. The pattern was unmistakable and deeply disturbing. Each new discovery added layers to a narrative that pointed unmistakably towards the actions of a serial killer. This realization brought a chilling new perspective to the case and intensified the urgency of the investigations. The methodical placement of the bodies suggested a perpetrator who was not only meticulous but disturbingly familiar with the area. The precision in the disposal of the remains indicated a chilling comfort with the act, hinting at a deep-seated malevolence and familiarity with the terrain. This meticulousness added a profound complexity to the case, hinting at a mind that was calculating and methodical, traits that would only serve to confound the investigators as they tried to piece together the killer's identity. The impact of these discoveries rippled through the local community and beyond, stirring a mix of fear, anger, and an insatiable need for answers. Families of the missing cried out for justice, while the public looked on in horror and disbelief. The media descended upon Gilgo Beach, each headline casting a darker shadow over the area and feeding into the growing lore surrounding the Long Island serial killer. This section of Long Island, once an unremarkable stretch of coastal land, had now become the center of a macabre tale of mystery and murder. As the investigations continued into the grim findings at Gilgo Beach, each unearthed detail added to the complex tapestry of tragedy that had enveloped the area. The victims, now known in the media as the Gilgo Beach Four, were identified as Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, Amber Lynn Costello, and Maureen Brainerd Barnes. Each of these women had vanished between 2007 and 2010, and their discovery in close proximity suggested a chilling pattern. They were not just random victims, but were specifically targeted due to their vulnerability as sex workers. The lives of these women, fraught with challenges and dangers, reflected broader societal issues. Their stories, often marked by struggles with addiction, poverty, and marginalization, underscored the systemic vulnerabilities that sex workers face. This aspect of the case highlighted not only the brutality of their fate, but also the societal neglect that often leaves such individuals exposed to predation. It is a stark reminder of the human cost of indifference and the dire consequences of societal stigmatization. The community's response to these tragedies was a mix of grief, fear, and a rallying cry for justice. Vigils were held, and advocacy groups stepped forward calling for greater protection for sex workers and heightened awareness about the risks they face. These responses reflected a community grappling with a profound loss and seeking ways to prevent further tragedies. The solidarity shown by the community highlighted the humanity of the victims, countering the narrative of anonymity that often surrounds sex worker-related crimes. Moreover, the trail of tragedy at Gilgo Beach raised critical questions about the effectiveness of law enforcement in protecting vulnerable communities. The initial delay in linking the cases and the subsequent challenges in the investigation pointed to gaps in policing and a need for more robust mechanisms to prevent such crimes. This part of the story is not just about the horrors perpetrated by a still unidentified assailant, but also about the societal and systemic failures that allowed these tragedies to unfold in the shadows of Gilgo Beach. The revelations of Gilgo Beach did more than just uncover a series of grisly crimes. They instilled a pervasive sense of fear and mistrust within the community. Residents of Long Island, especially those near the affected area, found themselves reevaluating their sense of security. The beaches that once were scenes of leisure and relaxation had transformed into symbols of danger and reminders of the lurking presence of a potential serial killer. This shift in perception was palpable, as families became more vigilant and the community tighter knit in the face of shared adversity. This atmosphere of fear was compounded by the mystery surrounding the killer's identity. With no suspects in clear sight and few clues leading to conclusive leads, the uncertainty fueled anxiety and speculation. Forums and social media became hotbeds for theories and discussions, each trying to piece together the scant evidence available. This collective sleuthing, while a testament to the community's engagement, also highlighted the desperate need for closure and answers that seemed ever elusive. Local law enforcement found themselves under intense scrutiny. The pressure to solve the case grew with each passing day, as did criticism of their handling of the investigations. Meetings were held, strategies revised, and resources reallocated, all in an effort to reassure the public and regain their trust. However, the shadow of the unsolved crimes loomed large, testing the resilience of both the community and its protectors. The impact of the Long Island serial killer extended beyond immediate fears, influencing local policies and practices. Initiatives to improve safety measures on Gilgo Beach were implemented, and there was a renewed focus on the protection of sex workers. These changes, while a positive step forward, were also a somber acknowledgement of the failures that had allowed such a predator to operate with impunity for so long. As this section concludes, the community's journey from shock to resilience serves as a powerful narrative of adaptation in the face of a dark and unresolved menace. The investigation into the Gilgo Beach murders didn't begin with the discovery of the Gilgo Beach 4 in 2010. It had its roots years earlier in a different decade, with the disappearance of several young women from neighboring areas. These cases, initially treated as isolated incidents, would later take on a chilling new significance as potential precursors to the horrors that would come to define Gilgo Beach. The early disappearances, though seemingly unconnected at the time, offered the first unsettling glimpses into what might have been the early work of a predator operating under the radar. One such case was that of Shannon Gilbert, the missing escort whose disappearance in May 2010 ultimately led police to the grim discoveries on Gilgo Beach. While searching for Gilbert, investigators stumbled upon the remains of 4 other women. This discovery, though horrific, was also a turning point. It suggested a potential link between Gilbert's case and the other victims, raising the possibility of a serial killer preying on vulnerable women in the area. The initial focus on finding Gilbert quickly expanded into a much larger and more complex investigation. The realization that these disappearances might be connected was slow and agonizing. Law enforcement agencies often operating in silos were initially hesitant to draw connections between cases across jurisdictions. The victims, often marginalized and leading high-risk lifestyles, were not always afforded the same urgency and attention as victims in more traditional missing person cases. This systemic bias, whether conscious or unconscious, contributed to a delayed recognition of the pattern, and potentially allowed a killer to operate with a chilling sense of impunity for years. As more information emerged, investigators began to see eerie similarities in the victims' profiles and the circumstances of their disappearances. Most were young women involved in sex work and had gone missing from areas not far from Gilgo Beach. The chilling possibility that a serial predator was at work began to take hold, casting a long shadow over the initial investigations and raising uncomfortable questions about how such a pattern could have gone unnoticed for so long. The early stages of the investigation were marked by a sense of urgency, but also a growing unease as the true scope of the crimes began to unfold. Each victim of the Long Island serial killer was more than a statistic in a macabre tally. They were individuals with dreams, families, and complexities that defied the reductions often seen in media portrayals. Melissa Barthelemy, for instance, was remembered by her family as a vibrant young woman with aspirations in the beauty industry. Her life tragically cut short before she could realize her dreams. Her story, like those of the other victims, is a poignant reminder of the personal tragedies behind each case. Megan Waterman, another victim, was a loving mother whose disappearance left a void in her family that could never be filled. Her commitment to her daughter was the driving force in her life, and her absence has been a continual source of pain and loss for her loved ones. These stories of personal loss are critical in humanizing the victims, moving them from mere numbers to real people with real lives and real losses. Amberlynn Costello and Maureen Brainard Barnes also had their unique aspirations and backgrounds, each adding to the rich tapestry of lives that were brutally interrupted. Their journeys to Gilgo Beach were not just geographical but existential, marked by a series of choices shaped by circumstances often beyond their control. Understanding their backgrounds is essential in appreciating the full impact of their loss, not just on their immediate families, but on the broader community. The collective narrative of these women serves as a stark contrast to the anonymity and isolation often associated with their profession. By focusing on their individual stories, we begin to see the victims not as distant, unrelated figures, but as members of our own community, whose absence is deeply felt and whose memories are ardently preserved. Delving deeper into the lives of the victims reveals a common thread of interrupted potential and unfulfilled dreams. Each woman found herself drawn into the world of sex work, not out of choice but necessity, driven by various socioeconomic pressures that are too often ignored or misunderstood. Their work, stigmatized and perilous, was a means to an end that was abruptly, tragically cut short by violence. This intersection of vulnerability and necessity is a critical aspect of the tragedy at Gilgo Beach. It underscores the harsh realities faced by many sex workers who navigate daily risks with limited societal support or security. The dangers are compounded by the stigma attached to their profession, which can isolate them from the very networks of support that might otherwise provide safety and assistance. The narrative of their lives challenges us to rethink our societal values and the protections we afford to those in perilous professions. It raises uncomfortable but necessary questions about equality, justice, and our collective responsibility towards the most vulnerable members of society. By understanding the complexities of their lives, we can begin to address the root causes that lead many into such high-risk situations. Furthermore, the interruption of these lives by such brutal means serves as a grim reminder of the ultimate cost of societal neglect. Each story is a call to action, a demand for attention, protection, and respect for all individuals, regardless of their circumstances or choices. This section of the narrative is not just a recounting of loss, but a powerful argument for change and a better understanding of the human costs involved. Section 3. The Society's Blind Eye. The plight of the victims at Gilgo Beach exposes a disturbing aspect of societal behavior, our collective tendency to turn a blind eye towards the marginalized. This societal neglect is evident in the delayed law enforcement responses and the initial lack of media attention to the disappearances of these women. It reflects a broader societal issue where some lives are deemed less worthy of attention and protection than others. This neglect is not just a failure of individual systems or policies, but a pervasive cultural attitude that devalues certain lives based on profession, socioeconomic status, or circumstances. The victims of the Long Island serial killer were primarily from backgrounds that did not readily elicit sympathy or vigorous advocacy. This bias in empathy and action reveals the deep-seated prejudices that can influence responses to tragedy and crime. Addressing this requires more than just policy changes. It demands a cultural shift towards greater inclusivity and empathy. The story of Gilgo Beach is a grim reminder of the consequences when society fails to protect its most vulnerable. It challenges us to confront our prejudices and to advocate for a more equitable treatment of all individuals, especially those at the margins. Moreover, the societal neglect also extends to the aftermath of the crimes. The families of the victims often struggle to find support and closure due to the stigmatization of their loved ones' lives and professions. This additional layer of suffering, where grief is compounded by societal judgment, underscores the need for a more compassionate and comprehensive approach to dealing with the families of crime victims. Section 4. The Echoes of Loss. The echoes of loss resonate not just in the immediate aftermath of the crimes but persist through years, affecting families, friends, and communities. These echoes manifest in various ways, through annual vigils, ongoing media coverage, and continued advocacy efforts. Such activities are not just about seeking justice, but about keeping the memories of the victims alive, asserting their dignity in death as in life. Family members like those of Melissa Barthelemy and Megan Waterman often take the lead in these efforts, transforming their grief into activism. They challenge the societal and systemic failures that contributed to their losses and fight to ensure that such tragedies are not repeated. Their resilience is a testament to the human spirit's capacity to seek justice and healing, even in the face of overwhelming sorrow. The community's response to the tragedy has also evolved over the years. Initially marked by fear and uncertainty, it has grown into a more organized and proactive effort to address the issues highlighted by the case. Community groups have formed to support the families, press for policy changes, and ensure that the lessons of Gilgo Beach are not forgotten. The ongoing impact of the tragedy also serves as a powerful reminder of the long-term nature of such crimes. The quest for justice does not end with the news cycle. It continues as long as families and communities keep the memories alive and press for answers. This section of the narrative emphasizes the enduring nature of loss and the continuous effort required to address its causes and consequences. Section 5. Community Response and Solidarity. The response of the community to the Gilgo Beach tragedies highlights a profound sense of solidarity and shared responsibility. Faced with a horror that could easily have torn the fabric of the community apart, residents instead rallied together, offering support to the victims' families and collectively demanding justice and safety improvements. This solidarity was visible in various forms, from community-led safety initiatives to public memorials and vigils that honored the victims' memories. Such actions are a powerful counter to the isolation and neglect that characterized much of the victims' lives. They represent a communal recognition of the value of every individual and a commitment to ensuring their safety and dignity. Moreover, the community's response has been instrumental in keeping the case in the public eye. Through continuous engagement with media and law enforcement, the community has played a crucial role in ensuring that the investigation remains active and that the victims are not forgotten. This persistent advocacy is an essential element in the ongoing quest for justice. The solidarity seen in Long Island also serves as a model for other communities facing similar tragedies. It demonstrates the power of collective action in confronting societal issues and driving change. As this section concludes, it reflects not only on the tragedy of the Gilgo Beach murders but also on the community's resilience and the hope that such unity offers for future prevention and healing. The heart of the Gilgo Beach mystery lies not only in identifying the perpetrator, but also in understanding the motivations driving such horrific acts. What compels an individual to commit such calculated and brutal crimes, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake? This question has haunted investigators and armchair detectives alike, fueling endless speculation and analysis. The victims' profiles, mostly sex workers operating on the fringes of society, suggest a chilling possibility that they were targeted specifically because of their vulnerability and the perceived low risk of detection. This chilling hypothesis, if true, speaks to a calculated cruelty and a disturbing awareness of the societal blind spots that too often allow violence against marginalized groups to go unpunished. However, the complexities of human behavior rarely offer simple answers. While the targeting of sex workers is a tragically common pattern in serial crimes, the sheer brutality and meticulousness of the Gilgo Beach murders suggest a deeper pathology at play. Could there be other, more personal motives intertwined with the crimes, perhaps stemming from a need for power, control, or a twisted sense of satisfaction? The question of motive is not merely academic. It is crucial for investigators trying to understand the killer's psyche and predict future actions. Unraveling this complex puzzle could hold the key to connecting seemingly disparate pieces of evidence, identifying potential suspects, and ultimately bringing an end to the terror that has gripped Long Island for far too long. In the absence of a definitive suspect, the Gilgo Beach case has become fertile ground for speculation and theories, each attempting to shed light on the identity and motivations of the killer or killers. The rumor mill, fueled by the case's high profile and the lack of concrete answers, churns out possibilities ranging from plausible to outlandish, capturing the public imagination and further blurring the lines between fact and fiction. Some theories focus on the possibility of the killer being a resident of Long Island, intimately familiar with the area's desolate beaches and able to move undetected through its communities. This idea is particularly unsettling for residents who find themselves scrutinizing their neighbors and questioning the safety of their once peaceful surroundings. Others speculate about the involvement of organized crime, pointing to the victims' involvement in sex work and the possibility that they may have crossed paths with dangerous individuals. This theory, while impossible to rule out, is often met with skepticism, as the seemingly random nature of the killings and the lack of any obvious links to criminal enterprises complicate the narrative. The speculation surrounding the case extends beyond the identity of the perpetrator to encompass potential accomplices, copycat crimes, and even the possibility of multiple killers operating independently or in tandem. These theories, while often based on conjecture rather than concrete evidence, highlight the enduring mystery of the Gilgo Beach murders and the public's desperate desire for answers and resolution. Despite the challenges and setbacks, law enforcement agencies have remained committed to solving the Gilgo Beach murders, dedicating significant resources and manpower to the investigation over the years. The case, far from going cold, has been the subject of renewed scrutiny, with multiple task forces and collaborative efforts formed to bring fresh perspectives and expertise to the table. The investigation has involved meticulous crime scene analysis, extensive DNA testing, and the pursuit of countless leads, some promising, others leading to dead ends. The sheer volume of data collected, from phone records and financial transactions to witness statements and online activity, is staggering, requiring advanced forensic techniques and analytical tools to process and identify potential breakthroughs. One of the most significant developments in recent years has been the use of genetic genealogy, a groundbreaking technique that utilizes DNA profiles to trace familial connections and potentially identify suspects through distant relatives. This method, while complex and ethically nuanced, has proven successful in cracking other cold cases and offers a glimmer of hope in the Gilgo Beach investigation. Adding to the complexity is the constant pressure from the public and the media, eager for updates and resolutions. Law enforcement officials must balance the need for transparency with the importance of protecting the integrity of the investigation, a delicate dance that often leaves the public feeling frustrated and in the dark. Section 4. False leads and frustration. The path to justice is rarely linear, and the Gilgo Beach investigation is no exception. The case has been fraught with false leads, dead ends, and tantalizing clues that ultimately failed to pan out, leaving investigators and the victims' families trapped in a painful limbo of uncertainty and dashed hopes. One such disappointment was the extensive search of a suspect's property in 2011, which yielded no significant findings despite initial hopes that it might hold the key to unlocking the case. The suspect, while considered a person of interest, was never charged, and the lack of concrete evidence against him only deepened the mystery surrounding the murders. Similarly, the discovery of additional remains in the years following the initial discoveries raised more questions than answers. While some of the victims were linked to the Long Island serial killer, others appeared to be unrelated cases, further complicating the investigation and highlighting the difficulties of separating the killer's work from other unsolved crimes in the area. These setbacks, while undeniably frustrating, underscore the complex and often painstaking nature of criminal investigations, particularly those dealing with serial crimes. Every dead end, every false lead, while disheartening, brings investigators one step closer to understanding the full scope of the crimes and ultimately identifying the person or persons responsible. Section 5. A community awaits. As the years turn into a decade and the investigation into the Gilgo Beach murders continues, a palpable sense of anticipation hangs over Long Island. The community, forever marked by the tragedy, waits with bated breath for answers, for justice, for the day when the shadow of fear that has loomed over their lives for far too long finally lifts. The victims' families, their grief compounded by the passage of time and the lack of closure, cling to the hope that their loved ones will finally receive the justice they deserve. Their unwavering strength and determination serve as a constant reminder of the human cost of the crimes and the importance of holding the perpetrator accountable. The community, once fractured by fear and suspicion, has found strength in shared loss and a collective desire for answers. They have organized vigils, supported the families, and kept the pressure on law enforcement, refusing to let the case fade from public consciousness. The Gilgo Beach murders are a stark reminder of the vulnerability that exists even in seemingly idyllic communities and the importance of vigilance, compassion, and a commitment to justice for all. As the investigation enters a new chapter, the community waits, hoping that the truth, however disturbing, will finally be revealed and that the long journey towards healing and closure can truly begin. Section 1. The media's glare. The Long Island serial killer case, with its haunting details and lingering mystery, quickly became a media sensation, captivating the nation and drawing intense scrutiny from news outlets across the globe. The story, with its chilling blend of suburban fear, gruesome discoveries, and the elusive nature of the killer, had all the elements of a true crime thriller, captivating audiences and fueling a relentless hunger for information. From the moment the first bodies were discovered on the desolate shores of Gilgo Beach, news crews descended upon Long Island, eager to capture every twist and turn of the investigation. The case became a nightly fixture on cable news, with experts and commentators dissecting every piece of evidence, every potential lead, and every theory, however far-fetched. While the media's attention helped to shine a light on the case and keep the pressure on law enforcement, it also had its downsides. The constant coverage, often sensationalized and speculative, fueled public fear and anxiety, turning Gilgo Beach into a symbol of terror and casting a long shadow over the surrounding communities. Moreover, the media's insatiable appetite for details, often at the expense of sensitivity and accuracy, sometimes hampered the investigation and added to the anguish of the victims' families. The families, thrust into the unwelcome glare of the spotlight, had to navigate their grief and loss while being bombarded by reporters seeking interviews and updates. Section 2. Public Theories and Speculations. The Gilgo Beach murders, with their lack of a definitive suspect and the many unanswered questions surrounding the case, became fertile ground for public speculation and amateur sleuthing. Online forums and social media groups dedicated to the case exploded in popularity, with armchair detectives from all walks of life poring over maps, timelines, and evidence, eager to offer their own theories and solutions. These online communities, while often driven by genuine curiosity and a desire to help solve the case, could sometimes veer into the realm of the bizarre and insensitive. Theories ranged from the plausible to the outlandish, with some suggesting the involvement of satanic cults, secret societies, or even copycat killers inspired by the original crimes. While most of these theories were harmless speculation, some ventured into the territory of accusing individuals without evidence, potentially damaging reputations and hindering the official investigation. Law enforcement officials, already grappling with a complex and challenging case, had to contend with a constant influx of tips and leads from the public, some credible, many not, adding another layer of complexity to their already daunting task. Despite the occasional pitfalls of public involvement, the collective desire to find answers and seek justice for the victims remained a powerful force. The Gilgo Beach murders had struck a nerve, not just in Long Island but across the country, becoming a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of everyday life and the vulnerability of those living on the margins. Section 3. Profiling a ghost. In the absence of a concrete suspect, criminal profilers and forensic psychologists played a crucial role in the Gilgo Beach investigation, attempting to construct a psychological portrait of the killer based on the available evidence and the patterns of the crimes. This process, while inherently imprecise, aimed to provide insights into the killer's motives, methods, and potential characteristics, aiding investigators in narrowing down their search. Profilers, analyzing the meticulous disposal of the bodies, the choice of victims, and the apparent familiarity with the local area, speculated that the killer was likely intelligent, organized, and comfortable operating in the shadows. The fact that the victims were primarily sex workers suggested a possible hatred towards women involved in that profession, or a desire to exert power and control over vulnerable individuals. However, profiling a serial killer, even with the most experienced professionals, is an intricate and often frustrating endeavor. Human behavior is rarely predictable, and the complexities of the human psyche can defy even the most astute analysis. Moreover, the lack of a clear motive, a signature behavioral pattern, or any direct communication from the killer made constructing a definitive profile even more challenging. Despite the inherent limitations, profiling remained a valuable tool in the Gilgo Beach case, offering potential avenues for investigation and helping to focus resources on individuals who fit the general behavioral patterns and characteristics identified. The profile, while not a magic bullet, provided a framework for understanding the unknown adversary and anticipating potential future actions. Section 4. A Catalyst for Change. The horrific discoveries at Gilgo Beach, while exposing a deeply unsettling reality, also sparked conversations and initiatives aimed at improving the safety and protecting the rights of sex workers, a community often marginalized and overlooked by society. The case served as a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities faced by those involved in sex work and the urgent need for greater protection and support. Advocacy groups, long fighting for the decriminalization of sex work and the implementation of harm reduction strategies, seized the opportunity to amplify their message, arguing that the criminalization and stigmatization of sex work only served to drive it underground, making those involved more vulnerable to violence and exploitation. Law enforcement agencies, responding to the criticisms leveled at their handling of missing persons cases involving sex workers, began implementing new protocols and training programs designed to address biases and ensure that all victims, regardless of their profession or lifestyle, receive equal attention and resources. The Gilgo Beach murders, while a tragedy on an unimaginable scale, also became a catalyst for change, prompting a long overdue reevaluation of societal attitudes and institutional responses to sex work. The case, while far from closed, forced a difficult conversation about vulnerability, exploitation, and the responsibility to protect those living and working on the margins. Years after the first gruesome discoveries on Gilgo Beach, the quest for justice continues, fueled by the unwavering dedication of law enforcement officials, the tireless advocacy of victims' families, and the collective hope that the person or persons responsible for these heinous acts will be held accountable. The investigation, though marked by periods of frustration and dead ends, has never gone cold. New technologies like genetic genealogy and advanced DNA analysis offer renewed hope that the elusive killer may yet be identified, bringing a measure of closure to the families who have endured years of unimaginable pain and uncertainty. The Gilgo Beach murders serve as a chilling reminder that even in the most seemingly peaceful corners of the world, darkness can lurk, and evil can flourish in the shadows. The case, with its tangled web of unanswered questions and the lingering pain it has inflicted, continues to captivate and haunt the nation, a testament to the enduring power of mystery and the unyielding human need for justice and resolution. The families of the victims, their strength and resilience unwavering, remain the heart and soul of the fight for answers. Their determination to keep the memories of their loved ones alive and their unwavering belief that justice will prevail serve as a beacon of hope, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable loss. The sands of Gilgo Beach hold secrets, whispers of lives tragically cut short, and the echoes of a mystery that continues to baffle and haunt. Despite years of investigation, countless hours pored over evidence, and the tireless efforts of law enforcement, the case of the Long Island serial killer remains an open wound, a puzzle with missing pieces that continue to frustrate and elude. The questions linger, as persistent as the ocean breeze that sweeps across the dunes. Who was the predator or predators who preyed on these vulnerable women, discarding their bodies like unwanted secrets amongst the brush in the dunes? What drove them to such acts of unspeakable cruelty? Were there others involved, silent accomplices who aided in the darkness, or did the killer act alone, a phantom moving undetected through the fabric of everyday life? The lack of answers weighs heavily, a shroud of uncertainty that hangs over the victims' families, the investigators haunted by the case, and the community forever marked by the tragedy. The unknown motives, the unidentified perpetrator, the possibility that the killer, or killers, may still be out there, continuing their lives while their victims rest in cold silence. These are burdens carried by many, a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most seemingly tranquil communities. As the years pass, the quest for answers takes on a sense of urgency. Time can be a cruel thief, eroding memories, scattering evidence, and making the already difficult task of finding justice even more challenging. Yet, even in the face of such daunting obstacles, the pursuit of truth continues, driven by the belief that every life has value, every victim deserves justice, and that even the most deeply buried secrets can be brought to light. The tragedy at Gilgo Beach is more than a collection of case files, forensic evidence, and chilling headlines. At its heart lies a profound human cost, a devastating ripple effect of pain and loss that extends far beyond the initial crimes, touching the lives of families, friends, and a community forever marked by the tragedy. The victims, often reduced to statistics or sensationalized by media portrayals, were daughters, mothers, sisters, and friends. They were individuals with hopes, dreams, and complexities that defied easy categorization, their lives tragically cut short before they could reach their full potential. Their absence leaves a void, a silence that echoes through the lives of those who loved them, a constant reminder of the preciousness of life and the devastating finality of death. For the families left behind, the pain is immeasurable, a heavy cloak of grief compounded by the passage of time and the lack of definitive answers. They navigate a labyrinth of emotions, anger, denial, bargaining, and ultimately, a fragile acceptance that coexists with the ever-present ache of absence. The unanswered questions, the not knowing, can be a torment in itself, a constant source of anguish that prevents them from finding true peace or closure. The impact extends beyond immediate families, rippling outward to friends, neighbors, and a community grappling with the knowledge that such darkness could penetrate their lives. It breeds a sense of vulnerability, a loss of innocence, and a heightened awareness of the fragility of safety and security. The Gilgo Beach murders serve as a stark reminder that evil can lurk in the shadows, even in the most seemingly idyllic communities, and that none of us are immune to the random acts of violence that can shatter lives and leave lasting scars on the human soul. The Long Island serial killer case did more than cast a shadow of fear and suspicion over the once peaceful communities surrounding Gilgo Beach. It left an indelible mark on the very fabric of life in the area, altering routines, perceptions, and the sense of security that many had taken for granted. The once inviting shores of Gilgo Beach, a place of leisure and escape, transformed into a chilling crime scene, a grim reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of everyday life. The discovery of the victim's remains shattered the tranquility, replacing it with a sense of vulnerability and a heightened awareness of the fragility of life. The case forced residents to confront uncomfortable truths about their surroundings and the limitations of safety, even in seemingly idyllic suburban enclaves. Parents became more protective, watching their children more closely at playgrounds and parks. Women, particularly those who lived alone, took extra precautions, double-checking locks, and avoiding walking alone at night. The impact extended beyond individual actions, influencing community initiatives and law enforcement practices. Neighborhood watch programs gained new members, community meetings focused on safety and awareness drew large crowds, and law enforcement agencies faced increased scrutiny and pressure to solve the case and restore a sense of security. The Gilgo Beach murders became a defining event for the area, a shared experience that bound residents together in a complex tapestry of fear, grief, resilience, and a collective determination to heal and move forward without forgetting the lessons learned from the darkness that had visited their shores. As time marches on and the headlines fade, it's easy for even the most shocking crimes to slip from public consciousness, relegated to the annals of true crime lore or the occasional retrospective news segment. However, for the families of the victims, forgetting is not an option. They carry the weight of their loss every day, the absence of their loved ones a constant ache in their hearts. It is in these moments, when the cameras are gone and the public attention wanes, that the importance of memory becomes paramount. Remembering the victims, not as statistics or sensationalized figures, but as individuals with dreams, aspirations, and loved ones who cherish their memory, is crucial to honoring their lives and acknowledging the devastating impact of their loss. Keeping their memories alive is not just an act of love and respect, it is an act of defiance against the anonymity that their killer sought to impose upon them. It is a way to reclaim their stories, to celebrate their lives, and to ensure that their deaths were not in vain. The families of the Gilgo Beach victims have shown incredible strength and resilience in their tireless efforts to keep the memory of their loved ones alive. They have organized vigils, shared their stories with the media, and advocated for changes in law enforcement practices and societal attitudes towards marginalized communities. Their determination to ensure that their loved ones are not forgotten serves as an inspiration and a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit can endure and hope for justice can prevail. The pursuit of justice is rarely a straight line, especially in complex cases like the Long Island serial killer investigation. It is a winding path, fraught with dead ends, false leads, and the constant frustration of seemingly being just one step behind the truth. Yet, despite the challenges, the dedication of law enforcement, the tireless advocacy of the victims' families, and the hope for resolution keep the pursuit alive. The investigation itself has become a testament to the dedication and perseverance of those who seek justice. Investigators have spent countless hours meticulously combing through evidence, interviewing witnesses, and chasing down every lead, no matter how small or insignificant it may seem. The advent of new technologies such as DNA analysis and genetic genealogy offers fresh hope that the elusive killer may yet be identified, bringing a measure of closure to the families who have endured years of agonizing uncertainty. However, justice encompasses more than just apprehending the perpetrator. It is about acknowledging the systemic failures that allowed such crimes to occur and taking steps to prevent similar tragedies from happening in the future. It is about addressing the vulnerabilities of marginalized communities, like sex workers, who are often targeted because they are perceived as easy prey. The Gilgo Beach murders have sparked a necessary conversation about the safety of sex workers, the need for greater empathy and understanding towards those involved in this often misunderstood profession, and the importance of providing support and resources to help them exit dangerous situations. While the pursuit of justice may be long and arduous, it is a journey worth taking, not just for the victims and their families, but for the sake of a society that strives for a future where such tragedies are not repeated. The Shadows of Gilgo Beach hold not only the specters of tragedy but also valuable lessons, harsh truths, learned through the crucible of unimaginable loss. The case, with its complexities and enduring mysteries, serves as a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities that exist within our communities, the importance of vigilance, and the need for compassion and understanding towards those living on the margins. One of the most poignant lessons learned from Gilgo Beach is the importance of recognizing and addressing the systemic failures that can allow such crimes to occur. The victims, many of whom were involved in sex work, were often overlooked and underserved by society, their disappearances initially met with indifference or dismissed as insignificant. The case highlighted the need for greater sensitivity and awareness within law enforcement agencies, the media, and society as a whole when it comes to marginalized communities. It underscored the importance of treating all victims with dignity and respect, regardless of their profession, lifestyle, or socioeconomic background. Furthermore, the Gilgo Beach murders served as a wake-up call, reminding us that even in seemingly idyllic communities, darkness can lurk and evil can flourish in the shadows. It highlighted the need for vigilance, community engagement, and a collective responsibility to protect the vulnerable and hold those in power accountable for creating a just and equitable society. Even in the face of such profound tragedy, a glimmer of hope persists. The families of the Gilgo Beach victims, their strength and resilience unwavering, continue to fight for justice, their determination a testament to the enduring power of love and the human spirit's capacity to find light in the darkest of times. The ongoing investigation, fueled by advancements in forensic technology and the unwavering dedication of law enforcement, offers hope that the truth, however elusive, may yet be revealed. The possibility of identifying the perpetrator, of holding them accountable for their actions, provides a glimmer of solace, a sense that even in the face of unimaginable loss, justice can prevail. Beyond the pursuit of justice, there is hope for healing, for the families of the victims to find a measure of peace and closure, and for the community to reclaim a sense of security and tranquility. The tragedy at Gilgo Beach, while leaving an indelible mark, has also fostered a sense of unity, a shared determination to learn from the past and create a safer, more just future. The lessons learned from Gilgo Beach extend far beyond the shores of Long Island, serving as a call to action for communities across the nation to address societal inequalities, support marginalized populations, and remain vigilant in the face of evil. It is a reminder that hope, like a single candle flame, can illuminate even the darkest corners, offering guidance, solace, and the unwavering belief that even in the aftermath of tragedy, a brighter dawn awaits.